A very good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of The Dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo and welcome to the big show. Welcome back from Mbarara Crusade. It was massive and we were really blessed. And the people of Mbalala, people from Bushenyi and all those neighboring districts, you made it big. And I'm sure you were blessed. We go straight to the matter this morning. The dialogue, we look at those big stories that made headline through the week as usual and put those issues of national importance into context. Dr. Jida Duheda Wanzara, a researcher from Africa Leadership Institute, is already in the studios. We'll be joined by Charite Kalebu Ahimbisibwe, and of course, our special guest this morning, Julius Buchana from Victoria University, is also in the studios. But let me take you through the big stories in the week as we kick off the show. Both good and sad stories. That horrendous bloody attack on the African Union UPDF base in Buro Malil, Lower Shabelle region of Somalia, actually dominated the headlines the whole of yesterday. And from what we pick from the Ministry of Defense, it is confirmed indeed there was an attack on the UPDF base, but of course no casualties were mentioned. And from a document purportedly authored by the militants, looks like the numbers may be more than 100, but that we cannot confirm. But of course, we can also talk about the executive order by His Excellency the President issued on 19th of May 2023, executive order number 3 of 2023, in which the President announced a ban on charcoal burning and charcoal trade in north and northeastern Uganda. Also was welcomed by even environmentalists and politicians, which could be another good step towards preserving and conserving the environment in Uganda. The executive order also slaps a ban on settlement of Balalo in northern Uganda, but also stops the Turkana from Kenya entering Uganda while armed. And again, another big story that actually was a matter of concern is the issue of expired courses in higher institutions of learning in this country. And actually this caused anxiety. It also caused panic, especially in continuing students as well as the alumni of these education institutions. And that will be one of the main topics for discussion this morning. And the issue of security or insecurity in this country is also in the news. Again this week, 2 incidents, one in Mukono, where a police officer shot a university student by the names of Natasha Nagai. Luckily, she survived and she's still hospitalized. And again in Kasanda district, another police officer, Alex Kitiyo, shot himself dead after an attempt to kill his boss. And that also again takes us to the issue of gun misuse in this country and the persistent or consistent cases of suicide and shootings. But on a lighter note, and a good one actually, the self-acclaimed Republic of Masaka was again reconnected to the mainland Uganda after UNRWA installed a temporary bridge on Katonga River to facilitate the movement of pedestrians. And it seems like that project or that the roadworks may take longer, because it looks like what we initially thought it was a simple issue may have actually become a big problem. On this note, I have to introduce my guests. Dr. Gerard Wansala, the usual suspect, is here, but I must tell you that Richard Baguma is in Addis. We miss him, but I know that he's watching. Dr. Gerard, speak to our viewers.
Good morning, our viewers. It's good to be here this morning and to speak to the country. I also take the opportunity to welcome those who are in Imbarara. It is always good to worship our God and also to ensure that we put our challenges to God as we also pursue our solutions. So it's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to 2 hours of serious engagement.
Yeah, I talked about the Massacre Republic. And they were laughing. They had actually, at some point, reached that level where they wanted to declare themselves a republic.
They have always declared themselves insane in a republic, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know what other name they will get in the future.
Yes. And actually, Gerard, a quick comment. I didn't know that we had a Heroes Day today during Obote Days, 27 May. Yeah. Heroes Day.
Yes, actually.
The day, commemorating the day when Obote returned from Tanzania. Was it 1980?
Yes, when he landed in Bushenyi and then knelt down
and kissed the soil.
Kissed the soil that he will never go back to exile. Unfortunately, in 1985 he went again.
Yeah.
So it is actually Heroes Day, but currently it is celebrated by, I think, the UPC people. I always see Jimmy Akena. They have a small house somewhere in Bushenyi where they usually go and dance and remember the good old days. Yeah.
It tickled my mind if during Obote Days they celebrated Heroes Day and now we no longer recognize that day, then that means that possibly in future some of these public days will be.
Actually, I remember last year we were discussing that the moment we mix these with politics and we don't define who our heroes are, and then we agree on when to celebrate. Because even Idi Amin used to celebrate Heroes Day on the day he made his coup. That was 25th January. And tactfully, the NRA decided, actually they captured Kampala on 25th, but they tactfully moved their celebrations to 26th January, not to coincide with Idi Amin's celebration. So if we don't streamline this, maybe in the future we may have another Heroes Day, maybe authored by you.
Okay, wait. Well, Julius Buchana is the Corporate and Public Affairs Manager at Victoria University. Welcome to the dialogue this morning.
Thank you, Apollo. I think I was last year when I was in the campaigns of Yala. You hosted me in the morning here. And this is my second attempt also to be on this show. Actually, my first time to be on this show. If it is a Holy Trinity, then this is the name of the Father, the Son. I'm now remaining for the third one to be the Spirit. I'm glad to be here, and like stories are evolving. You just mentioned about Mogadishu. It's very, very sad that we are losing men in uniform who had gone to restore peace, and now they are being sacrificed politically. Because if you look at the motives of Al-Shabaab, they are never economic. Economics come at the later stage, but politically they are sacrificing these Ugandans who have rendered their lives to go and restore peace in that country. And there was some bit of relief if you look at how Somalia was now. But now we can't say any more further. We wait for the government to give us a brief. Major General, is it Major General? Lieutenant General Kulaije did mention that they are also waiting for ATMIS to give them and African Union to give them the exact what happened there.
Since yesterday, they are verifying.
Yes,
they are verifying the information. And
for some of us who have been in the military reporting, even journalists who are there are cautioned not to say
not to release information.
Not to release information until they are sure that the information may not cause fireback. Because they might say Al-Shabaab, because Al-Shabaab gave its statement. They know Al-Shabaab, we all know Al-Shabaab exaggerates figures. And they say 137, but you may find that they're not even 50.
Yeah, true.
So, but as long as one person was lost alive, who had gone for a better Somalia from Uganda, we can't take that for granted. And I believe, Apollo, that Uganda must expedite their investigation and brief the Ugandans whose people are there.
Yeah, true.
Because you may find a family has lost a father, and we well know that UPDF cannot handle even the post-mortem.
I was engaging the Deputy Defense Spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Dewakik, and they are saying we should have that spirit of nationalism, and we can't give credit to the militants anyway if anything happened anyway. But anyway, that is it. Later in the show we will of course also look at the nationwide tours by His Excellency the President. Yoweri Museveni, the General, is now touring the Buganda sub-region, and this is part of his nationwide tours. He has been in West Nile region. He has been in the Acholi sub-region. Now he's in Buganda sub-region, and his focus, we are told, is parish development model and Emioga in that ideology of socio-economic transformation. And we will actually give it time and possibly look behind those nationwide tours. And I need to introduce Charity Ahimsibwe Kalebu. It's a pleasure having you on the show. Please speak to our viewers.
A very good morning to all our viewers. Certainly happy to be back. Every Saturday for us we are here, and I'm happy to have Julius. I've taken so long without seeing Julius, but I'm very happy he's keeping well, good shape. I think he has enough money to live.
If he had made it to Yara.
Today I'm living with some cash here. Yeah. I actually was there supporting him, my Yala man, but he lost out. But I keep hearing him on top radio every once in a while, and I get shocked how he speaks his Luganda very well, you know, and he connects. I also didn't know he was a political animal. I am happy that journalists can come out, stand, and actually defend, because when the intellectuals sit back and they don't come out to lead, then it is a problem for the country. I'm also, of course, happy to see Dr. Wanzala Weriye, the man from Namisimba. I feel very excited to be next to a doctor, you know, a man who is calm and always articulating very good points. And I think I found him at a point of Heroes Day. This week has been a very busy week on the front of Uganda. Of course, the executive order, you saw that one from the president, but you also know that on the Ugandan front, expired degrees continued being expired, and so many things. And of course, today I'm going to tell you that degrees cannot expire, and I will explain to you why they can't expire.
All right.
So it is good. A good morning for everyone, and happy to see you, Apollo.
Happy to see you again. And you found Julius quickly submitting and giving his comment on that sad report that came in from Somalia. At one point, we think that possibly there should be amendments in that mission, and there have been some changes. Formerly it was AMISOM, now it's Artemis, but the longevity of this mission and all that, I don't know what your take is, and now this latest report really looks not good. If at all it is true.
You know, I want to associate my views with what Julius has just said. The reason I associate with what Julius is saying is because he has said, and it's in tandem with what Akiki has said. My heart goes out if it is true that UPDF has lost lives, because the UPDF is our flag bearer. It's like if the Ugandan flag was set on fire in German or Australia.
To be very sad.
To be terrible. It is our national symbol. So how do you do that to us? You belittle us, a sovereign state. So if it is true that our men in uniform have gone down by the Al-Shabaab, really it's a time for mourning for Uganda as a whole, because we're supposed to be nationalistic, and that UPDF is a representative of the people of Uganda. That is why it is the Uganda People's Defense Forces. And if anything bad happens to them, our security is also at stake. And the only way you can tell about security is if you lived in Somalia. If you go to Somalia right now, you can't do business too well. They told you the people around that place where the attack was woke up to bombs, and they were not sure what was going on. They were just hearing rockets, boom, 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 and they didn't know what was going on. And some of them said, so we had to look for where was safe. But eventually, as the day went on, the bombings stopped. And Al-Shabaab, as you have known them, it's a militant group. Their agenda has been clear.
Bloodshed.
Yes, it is nothing short of that, and they're not sorry about it. They do it anyway. But for us, as a Ugandan force, we are there to keep peace with the rest of the African Union, to promote democracy, because Somalia just went through an election. It elected a president, put him in place, and then they said, okay, the African Union can only pacify this democracy, try to promote what the people have decided. So anything outside of that would look like, if we reported what they are celebrating, then we are not being nationalistic.
So you agree with the Julius and Deo that we, it's okay, we keep it at that. If we had, I think he will send in a message. He's watching, Richard Baguma, a communication specialist. I would want to pick his opinion on that. If it is not really correct to divulge the details of such an attack. Gerard, please.
Just like my colleagues, I join the families of those who have lost their dear ones, and of course my sympathies to the people of Uganda. This army is ours, whether we make noise, whether we belong to which political party. The people who serve in the UPDF come from amongst us. So maybe what I would like to reaffirm is that the fact is that the attack took place. If you read a number of international media, the attack was quite nasty. But of course, professionally, I cannot go mentioning the numbers because it's not my role. But what happened is really absurd. And he was talking about ATMIS. ATMIS is African Transitional Mission in Somalia. You know, at first, AMISOM were doing, at first our mandate was peacekeeping. Later, we were added the mandate to do peace enforcement because we were controlling a small territory, and yet to really have impact, we needed to expand the territory in Somalia under the control of the government. And because of the longevity, there have been discussions and of course change in global politics and priorities that for how long are they going to fund this. So last year in April, it changed to a transitional mission for 1 year and was renewed. Right now the plan is that if possible we would exit next year in April. But given the circumstances, I don't see us leaving next year.
I was in Somalia, actually in Lower Shabelle region, where this happened in 2018. And you could feel the tense atmosphere around you. Even when it was not, even when we were not under that bombardment but now that a new government is in place, a new head of state has been elected in office, you would possibly think that the country has moved, democracy is taking root. But then with this latest incident, then you feel there is a lot of more work to do. I hope so.
But Al-Shabaab,
A lot more work
yeah,
to
you would think
Yeah.
that way. But the fact is that this militant group, Al-Shabaab, has its own ideology
And agenda.
and agenda. They believe in establishing an Islamic state, and then they apply the Islamic law. They don't believe in democracy and the rule of
Of the rule of law, they
rule of
don't
law. So it's a challenge that we are going to face for quite some time.
Okay, just to add on, Mr. Apollo, what we are forgetting is Somalia as a country is already divided. There is Al-Shabaab, there is Somaliland, and we saw the leader of Somaliland recently with the president of China.
Yeah, I think they are. It is the Somaliland has a special relationship with the government of in Kenya.
Yeah, they do. And you find very many of the people from Somaliland find easy access to Kenya. Yet these ones who are under the Prime Minister find it so hard to cross to Kenya. And this is one of the reasons as to why many people think that the level of chaos cannot stop in Somalia. Because one, if you look at how the destabilization is formed, it is political. But again, the religion comes in as an enforcement to cover up the political part of it. And Al-Shabaab as itself has support from Somaliland because they want to push their boundaries closer and closer and make sure they have a bigger portion of Somalia so that they can establish themselves as an independent nation, which I believe many Western states are supporting, and giving this gentleman audience as Xi Jinping is one interface that yes, we associate with him, and the other side should also come to us, and we see how we can mend peace. But as a person, I believe, a student of international relations, I believe Somalia cannot have peace as of now. There needs to be a lot of stitching of hearts to make sure that these people come to table and resolve issues amicably. But the issue of religion and Al-Shabaab, we well know that there are states and forces from the Western region who are supporting war. They cannot eat on peace, they eat on war. So Somalia cannot have peace.
We can only bank hopes on the African Union.
It is a toothless dog.
And I think things may change, you never know. Because we cannot agree that the leadership in Somalia cannot handle this alone. They cannot. They need the power of synergies. All African nations must come together and possibly look at solving that problem, which has existed for now more than 40 years now, almost 40 years. Well, we pray that peace prevails.
But on the history of wars and religion, if you look at Uganda as well, we had Lakwena. If you look at Kenya, there was the Mau Mau rebellion. Remember that it was also a religious rebellion. And I'm going back in history just in time to show you that, you see, you can't deter religion and war. It is a belief system. Lakwena was a spirit, she was a cat, she had, yes, so she had powers. So for you to have certain powers and to wield a certain influence over people, there must be an aspect of religion. You must have a thing you relate with those people. So, and you see that for Somalia, that religious factor is big, but it is also big on the other side of the Al-Shabaab. So it's not a thing which is going away, it is going to stay there. But I think that also other African states should be able to put in
more effort.
Yeah.
Okay, let's quickly move on. Another comment on the executive order from President John Museveni, which was actually, or which were actually welcomed by environmentalists. I remember at least 2 or 3 weeks ago we were here talking about the extent at which the environment has been depleted, and the executive order number 3 of 2023 slaps a ban on charcoal burning and charcoal trade in northern and northeastern Uganda, and again it also stops the settlement of Balalo in northern Uganda, and Balalo also Ugandans anyway, but now here is an executive order for Balalo not to resettling in northern Uganda, and finally the Turkana of Kenya from entering Uganda while armed. Dr. Gerard, your take.
I will begin with the one on the environment. My analysis of the situation in the northern Uganda is that it responds to the very high demand for energy without alternatives. I gave statistics here some time back that people who are only able to exclusively use clean energy, electricity and gas, are about 3%. And then people are using charcoal, mostly in the urban areas, about 23%. The rest of the country is using firewood. Now, even if you impose you put an executive order,
a ban.
Me, I will not discuss the legalities, like I leave it to the Peter Waluviris and the charities. But I'm looking at the reality on the ground. Even as he issued the executive order, I've seen charcoal trucks coming. And who is producing? Are
you sure
charcoal?
they are coming from northern Uganda?
If you go to Busoga, where we used to get charcoal, where are the trees? The forests like Butamira and others were given for sugarcane growing.
The best charcoal comes from Nakasongola.
It used to come from Nakasongola. Now I see farms there.
Nakasongola is empty. No trees. No charcoal.
We had trees in Bunyoro. You are seeing how Bunyoro is turning around. It's also becoming a sugarcane area, and then trees cut deliberately, sometimes by people of NF, National Forest Authority. And then if you go to Mbarara, you see everywhere. There are no trees. It's just open. So unless we come up with a comprehensive policy, practical policy, I'm seeing our neighbors, Tanzania, ever since the war in Ukraine started, they have become one of the biggest exporters of coal. So if we had a deal, say, with Tanzania to import cheap coal, because they are our neighbors, and maybe we would reduce on the use of charcoal in the households. So you seem
to say that even if the president issues these executive orders, I mean, environmental degradation will continue.
It will continue, and I strongly believe the president has responded because of politics. You know, when politicians rise up, the way you are seeing the Honorable Gilbert Olanya or Dongaoto running around, inciting, so you have to go and cool down the fire, and at the same time you're also facing Karimojonga attacks in Padera and Agago, so you cannot combine the trees uprising and then the guns, you know, coming from Karamoja to Padera. So I believe the president responded politically, but in his politics, I would like to appeal to him and his cabinet to come up with a solution, a sustainable solution to this.
The issue of Balaro.
For Balaro, I think he's very right. I really support it because I went to Lango, I went to Katakwi. It is kind of provocative. And when you go to a place and you hear ethnic sentiments, it becomes dangerous. Then there is a way, loitering with cattle, I will call it loitering, because I see it as weird. Me to buy cows, then I go and graze wherever I find, even where I don't own land in the 21st century. The president
These are basically nomads.
Yeah,
pastoralists, but
they can reform. The president has been telling people, mobilize people to reform around Zimbabwe, Chiruhura, and so forth. Why can't these ones who ferry cows from Chankwanzi, from where to northern Uganda, why can't they also settle and have an organized way of living? Because land is a resource. If you go and occupy someone's land, and to make it matters, well, these guys are cultivators.
They do it with impunity also.
Exactly, they are cultivators. So you are distorting their economic well-being, and eventually it can be a bomb waiting to explode at some point. But for the Turkana ones, I think we need that radical. The problem will be on the enforcement because of the porous borders. You know, stretching from Karenga, Kabong, then you come up down almost to Bugisu. So it may be a bit of a challenge to enforce.
Okay. Charity, what do you make of the president's actually executive order?
Now, I will also not go into the legalese, although I know he conjured his powers in Article 99 to be able to write that executive order. But I want to look at the delicate issues, because every issue he raised there is delicate and real. Security is a big issue. He was saying there are illegal guns coming in. Then he said, I'm going to redeploy LDUs in 2,000 sub-counties across the country. And I want to agree with Gerard Warehe Wanzala on the question of alternative energy. And I'm going to explain how it can be done and why we need to do it like yesterday. And then he touches the question of the environment. So he touches security, the question of environment, and then he touches the question of Kenya, Uganda. Because when you talk about Turkana, then you talk about a cross-border relationship, two governments. You talk about the Ugandan government and the Kenyan government. What is their feeling towards the Turkanas? And have we known that the Karamojong have been here since colonial times? Even the president puts it in his statement and says, see, these people since colonial time have known how to find guns to protect their animals. Every nomad who you've talked about, these people are nomads. Every nomad has guns, because their guns must protect their cows. And so there is massive guns, they are always trading in guns, and that culture cannot just be killed. Culture is never wished away. If I am used to praying on Sunday morning, I will pray. Even if you say we have shut down churches, didn't you shut them during COVID-19? Did people pray? Did people pray? Did people even learn how to pray at midnight? Did people learn how to pray on the internet? Did you find a new way of metamorphosizing? Because a culture is a culture. That is your way of life. You know nothing else. So these people, even if he wrote an executive order, the nomads will still nomadize. The Balaro will still move around. He has a big point in terms of saying that some of them go and fence off big chunks of land and send away ordinary people, which is a very emotional thing. Secondly, like he has told you, land is a resource. And if you come and send me off my land, when I'm a bona fide occupant or a landowner, you're trespassing on my land. I have rights.
It's illegal.
Illegal. I have rights, I have interests in that land. Now, who is going to take care of my interests in that land? And you see the Land Act is clear, the Registration of Titles Act is clear, all the statutes that concern land are clear that as long as you have interest in the land, your priorities are to be protected. So he was trying to do that. But can it be done through that order? I don't think it will be achieved. I have told you the nomads will still nomadize with guns. I have also told you that the land issues will continue to be, because as they move around with their animals, they will continue to send away people from their correct land, and there will continue to be friction between the Balaro and the ordinary people. In Karamoja also, we shall continue to see them associate with the Turkanas, whether the president says now I've expelled Turkanas for good. Why? Because they still need the guns from the Turkanas. That's where they get the guns.
Protect their livestock.
And their activities as nomads. So
on
the
environment,
question of alternative energy, which is the environment. Now, Odongo Oto, we said here, what he did was inhumane, beating people and all, and I think that government should call him out. He may have had a good mission, but what he did was not good for the people. In terms of the environment, government needs to quickly empower the Ministry of Energy, especially renewable energy facet. They have a sector called renewable energy. They put money there. We have biogas. I said all these places, you go and pass all these places in Kampala, they are smelly, 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 because we have too much sewage, which is wasted. But if biogas was being produced by government on large scale, they could sell it very cheaply. We have too much waste that could be turned into biogas and given to us at a very small rate.
The garbage we actually grapple with.
Yes, can be turned
into brick. They're called
briquettes. Briquettes, even biogas. Some of the other components of that waste can be turned into biogas, and the briquettes, and then also the energy-saving cooking stoves, which they have been talking about.
You're saying if the government doesn't come out with alternative sources of energy,
yes,
the executive orders may not
be
so
so effective. Work because Apple, are we going to stay without food? People have to cook. People have to eat.
Right.
So even if you make an executive order and there is no alternative for cooking, then what do people do? That's why you find in the village people walk from people's compounds. I go to Wanzala's compound and I pick 3-4 firewood to still cook because I'm hungry. I must cook. So people go cutting trees, people go picking firewood. There must be a way of cooking. So if you know that, yes, there is a way of cooking, and also remember, poverty has not gone away. Gas is expensive, yes,
very expensive.
Electricity is expensive. The economy is harsh on people. You can't even get 100,000. Somebody who gives you 100,000 is your friend. You know, and 100,000 can't even, will buy you one sack of charcoal. Because a sack of charcoal is about 80,000 in Kampala. 80, 70, 60, 65. That's a lot of money. Now, on a daily basis, you can't earn it.
You can't.
Yes, but if you have an energy-saving stove, you have those cooking stoves which can use 2-3 firewood, and then you cook a big ntamu of food, that would be good.
That would be better. Julius, what do you make of the executive order?
Thank you, Apollo. I once told people in one WhatsApp group when I saw that executive order, and I said, the Bagandans have a saying,
And what does that mean?
The executive order came in handy, but at the wrong moment. You see, we are next to 2026 or 2025 when the electioneering is near. And they want to use this moment to have appreciation from voters and all this. I can tell you the Balala are going to stay in northern Uganda.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the fact. You see, the doctors talked about the ethnic question. I was in Soroti. We were heading to Serere. And we found these people grazing their cattle on the road.
Really?
Yes, on the road. The grass areas on the road. And everyone was saying, what if this cow crosses the road and we hit it? Who is in the problem? But you see, this guy has close to 200 cows. And he's seated a kilometer away from them. But he's monitoring. Now, who knocks one who will have to suffer canes of like 10 balalos? They will come and round you up in a minute. Because a cow to the balalo is like gold to South Africans and Congolese. So the executive order came in and there's nothing to do for them. These people have bought square miles of land in northern Uganda. I was talking to Norbert Mao that day. He was somewhere.
Did you say they have bought?
Yes.
While others are saying they are illegally evicting.
Apollo, let me tell you something. An acre in northern Uganda is 500,000.
500?
500,000. Even 300,000 you get an acre.
500,000?
500,000 you get an acre in northern Uganda. Now, these rich people go and get these balalos, take them there, and because he has bought 2 square miles, he says, okay, I want like 5 families. Let's go. You graze from there, you pay me. He will give them cows. Once they multiply, he pays them the milk, he pays them the land. They even produce children from there.
But Julius, this is the head of state issuing.
Can I tell you something?
Orders.
How many executive orders has given and they've been effected? Just tell me one.
And
not the COVID-19 orders. Let me talk about the executive orders he has given. And they're effected more than a year and they are still effective.
And on the matter of environment?
On the matter of environment, let me tell you something. You see, Charity has talked about changing the face of how we are doing things. You cannot tell people you are now going to stop using charcoal. Where? In Uganda here. We are still a country that grapples even to feed its own population because of food insecurity. And you talk about changing the face of how we cook. And you tell people,
but it is the role of government. And
it is the role of government, yes, but what is the alternative? What
to conserve the environment as well as, of course, ensure
the OPM, I think it was government of Uganda, yes, started giving out cylinders through Starbucks International.
The Minister of Energy.
Yes, Minister of Energy. How many, do you know anybody who has a cylinder for government of Uganda?
Me, I haven't. I haven't seen anyone.
2 million cylinders.
For you,
how many have received it?
All of you elite people.
Whenever I go to Starbucks,
I went to his house, Doctor Werihe.
Whenever I pass these fuel stations, you find GOU.
So you think the gas cylinders disappeared?
This is just lip service. It is never going to be affected. NEMA is on the budget of government and on the mercy of government to fund it, to do these operations. Let them maintain Rubiji. They cannot maintain the environment issues countrywide. I can tell you this. Nakasongola will continue producing charcoal. We shall go to Iganga and pick charcoal. We shall go to Liantonde and pick charcoal. A sack of charcoal today is 80,000. And you may find it's going to decrease to 60,000 because now they have given it market. I can tell you, Apollo.
I'm worried. You gentlemen and the lady, you think the executive order.
In northern Uganda, I said because they still have big trees.
Yes. Oh. Because for them they don't have those tendencies of grazing in forests. For us, we shall cut in western Uganda. They will cut down the trees to clear the farm. In northern Uganda, you rarely find cows being grazed. So a tree will remain there in its entirety. Now you remove very nice charcoal from it.
Well, viewers, we leave it at that. But of course, I saw the Minister for Water and Environment, saying now the executive order from the President gives them impetus and momentum to enforce and it's a message to those who have been acting with impunity to understand that it is now serious. They should stop destroying the environment with impunity. And I said possibly that is a good thing and a good move in the right direction, possibly.
But Apollo, I find it very simplistic for a minister to say now we have found impetus because the law has always been there. There is force of law for them to make sure people do not misuse the environment. Even NEMA on its own is supposed to be producing environment impact assessment reports. I was there, I said it, Wanzala said it, I think even Richard said it. Now those impact reports of annually, they're just supposed to go and sit before the press, call a press conference, call a press conference every 1 quarter of the year. We have 4 quarters. Make sure in the 4 quarters you've sat 4 press conferences. And what have you done? You have told them that our carbon layer level has reduced from this to this. What that means is that we have cut this number of trees. We need to replace them by this rate at this. You do your part. Do your part. And let us see who is not doing their part. When did you last hear them releasing a statement where they are telling us about our carbon layer level, about our tree level, about our, what do they call them, catchment areas and wetland recovery, wetland recovery mechanism. Instead, they wait for the flooding of that
Katonga.
Katonga. They wait for Katonga to flood. They wait for Mbale. You remember that?
Landslides.
Leave alone the landslides, but even here, when you get to Namatala, there is that place where there is Livingstone University and what? That factory.
And this China,
those
Uganda-China friendships.
Hey, Uganda-China, when it floods and people can't pass, that is when they remember to say, you went in a wetland, we warned you against a wetland, but now you can see the water has come out. Why didn't you come out? Why didn't you tell people that this is it? This is the position. These people have done this. If this happens, at least we have said. So we know there is record. That is the importance of information.
Wow. We'll wait and see what actually government does after. The relevant government ministries and departments will do after those executive orders. Jared, Dr. Werihe, quickly, I talked about the shooting incidents again in this week, 2 other shooting incidents, gun misuse. We've talked about it several times. Just a quick comment.
But do
you think it is going to end?
No, we said as long as it's still in the media, okay? It's
really?
A trending topic. And these guys are on social media, they're carrying guns. Some of them now it becomes a style to copy. Now, if I look at the incident of Kasanda, the man went and fired bullets in the house of
his boss.
Then he discovers the boss is not dead and then he kills himself. So there is a big problem. Maybe we need, in the meantime, they call it remobilization of forces. That includes even retooling them, also taking them through gun handling, psychological training, psychology.
Do you see any deliberate move within this period when we have, register these incidents to counter this trend?
You know, the way it happens, it's not even easy to predict, you know, because today you Wakiso, the next day someone has committed suicide, another one on a boat in Western Nile. So unless, and sometimes maybe mechanisms to understand employees' challenges at work. I know that police, military focus more on, of course, by nature, on hierarchy and respecting the boss. But they forget. I think the reason we have political commissars in the army is not only to do siyasa, but also to understand and respond to the issues, emotional issues that are within. Now, let me give you an example. For instance, you saw the askari of the central division of what's this, in Njeru municipality, who locked the entire building and said he's demanding his salary for 4 years. Now imagine that man had a gun. He did not have a gun, empty hand, but he closed the entire administration. All the employees came and went away. Now with that anger, if you gave him a weapon like a gun, what would he have done? So there should be mechanisms to maybe detect and also periodically take this book through some, but also don't forget the issues of welfare and frustration.
Charity, do you see any deliberate effort in this short time from government or any other institution to address this issue? Because we even saw this Stanley Chisambira also being taken to prison and granted bail, the driver of the judiciary, who was actually raising the issue of welfare to his bosses in a non-violent manner.
You see, Chisambira's issue actually was a sad one, because how else did they want him to raise the issue? And the Prime Minister, the PS of that ministry came out of judiciary came out and said we have to act on this, and we have, of course, as an administrator. I think he has been
granted bail of 10 million.
Yes, as an administrator, probably his action helped in terms of saying, I am deterring other people from doing what this particular driver has done, or else every driver will go out on rampage and say it is true. Chisambira represented us, you people are cheating us. So now from an administrative point of view, the PS then had to come out and say, but no, even this man doesn't only earn 200,000, he earns 1 million and whatever. But Chisambira came out and said it's not true. You are telling a lie. I still stand by my statement. So now court, for me, what I would have expected was not him to be taken to Luzira, but put before a tribunal. Because they have those tribunals. He didn't have a big crime, you know, criminal case of murder.
Now they're charging him computer misuse?
First they said computer misuse, then they changed, they said hate speech. You know, they were looking for
for cases and charges.
Flimsy grounds for getting somebody into a case. But you see, he has a point, he's representing, and government knows that they went and had that Employment Act. Now I have seen the employers, they're the ones crying. They're saying, whoa, what these people have passed, you don't know. They have ordered, oh, we are dead, we are finished here. The employers are crying. And for me, I'm happy when the employers are crying, let them cry some more. It's their turn. Because if Chisambira came out and has told you, the employer, you're not paying attention to him, he's representing a statistic of people. Ordinary Ugandans are struggling. That's the truth. People are struggling. They don't have money.
Are we moving to address that issue, really?
So we have not seen a deliberate effort. But from the executive order, you see one of the things the president raises is the security question and the question of guns, which seem to come from hand to hand and
but these are registered guns, known guns that are actually killing people. People using them to commit suicide.
Yes, and Werihe here said it might be that people felt inspired. They kill, they are not arrested, even others die. They have seen others dying and they are saying, okay, why am I here with this rifle? Let me also try a move. And they do that.
So sad.
Yes, it's bad.
Julius, I have only 2 minutes. What do you make of an effort? Do you see a deliberate effort to stop this gun misuse in this country, and people are just losing lives?
Apollo, I don't look at gun misuse as a very complex issue. I look at the emotional imbalance.
Or addressing that cause.
Exactly. I look at the emotional imbalance in these people. You see, economically, people are strained. And the nation seems to not give it a very nice angle and importance to the floor of parliament. I can tell you, whenever this man sees their boss sending them to go and pick a luggage of money, seeing you eating meat and they have a sack of portion and beans in their gatehouse, seeing you and the children coming back with boxes of Cafe Javas and KFC, and for them they are on Maragwe and, you know.
Yeah, but security guards of should not also think of Cafe Javas.
I can tell you they are human. They are human. This is an emotional thing. And you see, Private Sabiti opened up the suitcase. And Private Sabiti, I know.
They should also
but these are human.
Cafe Javas lunch and supper.
How you treat them is how they will handle you. I can tell you there is a photo that was trending on social media where the UPDF were in a certain eating point, and somebody said, oh, they have also started going for such meals. It was very interesting. But you see these men sit on these pickups, and the wind and the harsh conditions they go through.
They should know their limits.
They should know their limits, but they are also people. If they are guarding your life, you must also make sure they are happy. I can tell you, Private Sabiti opened up this rampage because people knew now, oh, now I can also do something. After that, how many have happened?
Very many.
So many.
More than 10.
And we are still seeing more because people are emotionally drained. These people in uniform need to be taken through mental illness survey because they are going through a lot and nobody is caring. The police, I asked one of the people in police, and he was telling me, how many are we going to check? How do you know that he's mentally unstable? Because this person comes to office every day, picks a gun.
No, in Parliament, it is the Speaker of Parliament who pronounced herself on the matter, saying there should be mandatory medical screening, and it will start with members of Parliament. That would call for another budget. All right, I think all this goes back to the welfare of Ugandans. I think that's an issue that should not be just ignored. And when we return from the break, we'll be looking at the president's nationwide tours. He's trying to address the same issue of socio-economic transformation, focusing on PDM, Emyoga, and other government projects which are targeting to improve the livelihoods of Ugandans, especially the 39% of the population outside the money economy. We'll be looking at, behind those tours, what could be actually playing out. Others are talking about early campaigns, but he is the head of state. He has the right to oversee the welfare of Ugandans. Let's go for a break, but don't forget that the main topic, the issue of degrees, expired programs, it created panic and anxiety almost across the country. Let's go for the break and we'll return after a short while.
Unyo.
Welcome from the break. This is The Dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo. Julius Buchana, the Manager, Corporate and Public Affairs at Victoria University, is in the studios. Charita Imbisibwe, a human rights activist, is in the studios, and Dr. Jared Wanzara is also in the studios. We also miss Richard Baguma Tinkasimile, who is in Addis, and we send shouts to him out there. And of course, from the break, we have to look at the president's or President Museveni's nationwide tours, following up on government programs, including PDM, Emyoga, in or under the ideology of socio-economic transformation. We've seen him in northern Uganda, West Nile region, and Acholi sub-region. He is currently in Buganda sub-region, and possibly will be seeing him touring other regions. But of course, trying to look out at what's behind these tours. And I have messages here, and that is why I would implore you to join in this discussion. Join us using our WhatsApp line 0701609906. Send your message, comment or contribution on the topics at hand. I saw a message here. Alex says he's live from Kisugu, and he says thanks the dialogue panelists. Thanks for the program. I am enjoying all the discussion. Thanks Apollo and Salt Media for always inviting brilliant people. I think that's an appreciation to the panelists here. Dr. Jared Werewanza, let's go straight and you tell us what do you think of these nationwide tours?
I look at these nationwide tours in two ways. One is the fact that the president realizes he has pumped money in the PDM and it's not doing well. So genuinely, I think he has a feeling that if he accesses those areas, he can be able to identify the gaps and probably give new directives to streamline what is not going right. But on the other hand, it is also achieving a political score. I'm not very young. This year I entered the room 1 or 4th floor at 41 years. I've been in Uganda and I used to admire President Museveni as a young boy. But what I recall right from 1996 elections, either 2 years to elections, the president usually makes a round around the country. And I can assure the viewers that President Museveni is going to be on the ballot in 2026. So this helps him to keep appearing in the public as a head of state and also as a candidate of the NRM in 2026. So for me, I see that largely it is for political scores. But as whether it is going to have an impact on PDM, I highly doubt. There are so many challenges with the parish development model, and I believe that his moving around alone is not going to change anything. Last week, there was an article in the Monitor, actually this week, that PDM claimants who are supposed to receive money were sleeping for a week on the streets of Mbale. Why? Because they come every day, transport themselves from the village every day, from Sena Misindwa, and then when they reach the bank, they say the bank people are soliciting for bribes, so they are suffering a double-edged sword. They are saying politicians have formed their own circle, where they pretend to be now the beneficiaries, but at the same time, those who qualify, when they go to the bank, imagine you are looking for 1 million. And then you spend 2 weeks transporting yourself every day to go. So they ended up sleeping on the streets so that they don't spend more money on transport. So I think the challenges are really deep-rooted, and I don't know what we are going to do.
Why do you get a feeling that the tours will not change anything in regard to the implementation of these programs?
Looking at how these people are behaving with impunity, because definitely the president is not, he's the head of government, right? But there are people, other state institutions like police, local governments, that are in charge, that are supposed to help the president deliver on his mandate. But many of them are also, you know, they're playing their own economic politics. To them, it's not a priority anymore to ensure that those people are pulled out of poverty, but for them to benefit. I can assure you, you go to a district like mine, Namisindwa, you'll find that even OWC things that go, piglets, seedlings, cassava cutting, you find the people who have the beneficiaries are the leaders at the district. While people think now these programs are not for them.
So, well, let me hear from Charity. What do you think of these nationwide tours, and possibly what's behind, look beyond just to what the tours?
Yeah, so So every time it is the second year after the election or towards the next election, then the president begins moving around, and around this time, even NRM people have been saying they are giving accountability for what was
manifesto
promised
implementation
in the manifesto.
and progress.
And there is what
Progress
they call
reports.
the manifesto week, and they want to do. They want the citizens to be able to associate with what did they promise and what have they been able to achieve. I think even yesterday...
Which is good.
Yes, accountability is good. But accountability is only good if people are able to find food and they are able to see a change at household level. The president promised that with the parish development model, every year there would be 2 million Ugandans who be leaving poverty and they will be joining
prosperity.
The money economy. Has that happened? That is the accountability we are talking about for us. Us who listened, that is the one we are looking for. Now, when he goes to Masaka and they bring for him the people who are doing well, who are earning 400 million.
I watched that meeting when in Masaka, and there were big testimonies of people who actually
making money,
making millions,
400 million sharing, 300
hundreds of millions in just 1 year.
And he was very happy. And he said, the Ugandans who are earning this kind of money, I'm very happy that the Ugandans who have stopped talking and earning. But Apple, you mean that whole Masaka there, all those people are earning 400 million? Go back to Masaka, go to Masaka, see for yourself. Go and live in Masaka. Tell me.
But where are they coming from?
They
are residents of Masaka.
They are residents. It doesn't mean that if you go to Mbale, you will not find some people in Mbale who are making money. There's some people who are making money out of trading. They are selling and they have big shops.
Charity, these testimonies they are making, they are saying, Mr. President, when you visited me, you gave me this idea
and the inspiration
and the capital for some of them. I started. Here I am, I earn 200 millions, 400 millions a year.
But you see, the president is the president of all Ugandans. Apollo, stop trying to crown it like as if he belongs to a certain facet and not other facet. Even me, he is my president. Hey.
So you're saying there are few individuals who are benefited.
So he should not select from us. He should give us all. He should provide services for all of us. He's the president of us all. So inadvertently, what I'm trying to say is that if services are there, they should be there for all Ugandans. If I access education, I access health, it should not be that some Ugandans have and others don't have, which is what has been the problem. The problem has been is that we have so many haves and very many have-nots. And we are saying that those who are in the bracket of have not, they really don't have. How then do you get them? And that is when he said, I've brought parish development model to get you charity who has nothing, and I bring you into the money economy. But has that happened is what I'm asking, and I'm saying it hasn't happened.
Actually.
So the people they are bringing him to testify for him and excite him, they also know how to excite the president.
So they are just exciting
They're
the president.
exciting him. They're exciting
and
him.
giving him a false impression.
Yes, they are making
that
him.
his programs are
They're making
actually
him really happy, so they know how to excite him. They say, how do we excite the president? How do we show him that actually? I said that for them, they get more money. They are calculating. They are very happy.
I also saw him encouraging them to provide their contact numbers and
such that he can link them to other people. For me, what I think should broadly happen, and since he has decided that this is the format which he wants to take, he should not only meet the ones who have succeeded, he should meet the ones that are struggling. And for Masaka, I was told by the NRM that that is why they took him to the skilling center.
Oh.
That the skilling center was meant to help him tell the young girls that, okay, you go to school. When you go to school, you get knowledge. But many of you leave school without a basic skill to help you to earn money. And where we're going, you need skill. And when he was in the skilling center, the people were very, very happy that he was there. Because like I have said, he's the president for everybody. Now, at the end of the day, for me, what I want him to do is to also pick what his ordinary people are not telling him. I want him to go beyond what is he just receiving.
Don't you think it is also being, I mean, it is already being done. I saw him passing on microphones through crowds, and the ordinary people you're talking about were given a chance to speak out their hearts and their grievances.
And
I think it's
I don't know if you know that the people who went there actually, not just him alone, because for him maybe he didn't even feel it, but the people who went there said the journey has become twice as long as it used to be when they just passed through the road here at Katonga. And even when they raised the issue with him, you know, he said he's going to tackle the issue. But for me, the bigger issue is that the statistics are clear. People are struggling. People don't have the money. In fact, for him, maybe because Masaka, they have caricatured the people. Let him do a meeting here in Kampala. Let me go for the meeting with my people of Muntu Wawansi from all over the places of Kampala. Let me take for him the ordinary people. Where is it the NRM people who are organizing and giving him the people that he wants to listen to? Let's take to him the ordinary people and let them tell him what is happening and how they are struggling and what it is that they think he could help with in terms of making it better for them. Why can't he meet the real people that are real struggling?
What do you see beyond PDM and Emyoga?
Because you see, the PDM, he said, was going to be his arm for processing and marketing, having recognized that Ugandans are farmers. Okay? He said many Ugandans rely on
farming,
agriculture. And so he said 80% are farmers. So PDM is going to be my arm for marketing and processing of agricultural product. Value addition. So that your product which you're producing, but the vagaries of weather have not been very good. Many people's food crops got spoiled, and many people's things died even in warehouses. They got rotten there. So these things, the realities also need to be given to him. As much as they are success stories, and I don't want to run away from the success stories. Very good. It's good that there are Ugandans who are making it. And it's good to listen to Ugandans who are making it so that even those who are not making it are inspired. It is very good. But what is failing the others is where the effort should be. Now, of course, there is also the question of the middleman, who has been unhappy that he had been knocked out in the parish development model, and the model now focuses on the ordinary person. The money reaches the parish. And it is the people at the parish who will determine the development programs that will work for them. What I want him when he goes to his next places, let him reach the parish. Let him ask, okay, at this parish, what was the development program you have decided to use? Because when he did that in northern Uganda, you saw how many people have been arrested? 3 people for PDM money. How? How did that happen? They have arrested them for PDM money. How have they arrested them for PDM money? How did it happen? There's already a corruption tendency on it. So for me, I want him to go in the next places. He's going to let him get to the parish. Let him ask the parishes, even if he selects 2 or 3, because he may not have the time to go to all. 2 or 3 and meet the ordinary people.
Okay. Finally, from you, in just 1 minute, look beyond the programs. What do you see?
Of course, he's an embodiment of politics. The president himself is a politician, and he's an embodiment of politics. And the NRM lost in Buganda. That is not a story being created. 2021, they lost in Buganda. And for him, as a political calculator, he has to work ahead of time. And he always works very hard to get regions that have not supported him to get back to him. He did it for northern Uganda and it changed. And northern Uganda gave him a lot of votes in 2021. They gave him a lot of votes in 2016 because of the efforts that had been put in that place. But if you look at the times before that, it was a loss, a loss, a loss. And then he put efforts there and that story began to change. So he's doing the same for Buganda and the greater Buganda. But when he gets to Kampala, for us, he should meet the real people I would be happy if he met those people who you always had jumping on motorbikes, screaming, jumping in gutter places, the ghetto boys. He should meet, and he should not meet only the top ones whom he keeps meeting. What are they? The musicians. And they said this one is now a presidential advisor because the musician. Let him meet those boys.
I hear they ripped billions and that.
Let him meet them.
Julius, what do you make of these tours?
Not full figure.
And reading beyond just PDM and
sure.
and the yoga.
Apollo, you see, in 2020, President Museveni came out and said, not even 2020, I think it was 2021 when he was campaigning, that by the time we reach 2026, there will not be opposition in Uganda. If you look at the gymnastics of how he's politicking, the sun cannot move now.
Oh,
MK cannot move now.
He's in a sabbatical.
He's now waiting for him to get done and also engages. Actually, now the opposition is between the son and the father.
General Mozi was in Masaka a few weeks ago.
Yes, that's now the father, where the father is now. The competition is now between the father and the son. And there is no, where is NUP? Where is DP? There's a photo which was trending. And,
they were in Kamocha, I think, this week.
Doing what?
Not Kamocha, Kavuri.
Makere Kavuri, doing what?
Press conference.
Where was the president?
and the company was meant to do what?
So you look at how politics is being played. The opposition is centered in Kampala, and for them they are breaking out to where they got 99% percentage. The forces of vote gathering and mobilization is now becoming, the convergence is now away from Kampala. It's now a divergence. They are now putting their strategy outside Kampala. For Uganda, my friends Arango Madina, the former candidate of Entebbe municipality, MP, they met Museveni, President Museveni. And they formed...
Not
over Khomeini. There's now a new slogan, Uganda for Museveni, BM7. They named it BM Museveni. And this is a group of youth who are now telling President Museveni that now we want to make Uganda for you, come 2026. First of all, there is Mzee Tova Kumein. There is Uganda from Museveni. You will find in 2025 there's another one coming up. All these.
So are we in campaigns?
Of course, Apollo. You have been in these things for so long, more than me. The campaigns have started. Whereas other political parties are now sleeping in Makerere Kavule, in Bali Ntuma, and on Ninajanankum. Others are in Masaka, in Acholi.
What do you want them to do? I mean, every time they want to organize an event, it is tear gas, and the response is tear gas.
Ugandan politicians is survival for the fittest. Ugandan politics is survival for the fittest. When I was standing for Iyala, I can surely tell you that many MPs decampaigned me, who didn't even know me. I was just a journalist who even gave them microphones for interviews, but they decampaigned me. A poor man who didn't even have a shilling to give them. But they were decampaigning me in the corridors of parliament. And they wanted 150, 200,000 from me. The politics of Uganda today, what President Museveni is doing to combat all the, by 2025, no political party would have done any campaigns anywhere, besides any other.
One comment, Dr. Gerard. I recall a time when we used to choose the opposition political parties for only focusing on Kampala and Uganda. But now, I don't think they even have that liberty to organize an event in Kampala or Uganda.
Of course, it's not a secret that the activities of the opposition have been curtailed, and then they have been reduced to mourning when someone has died.
Press conferences,
funerals,
funerals basically.
They are almost wedding every weekend.
Yes, but also within the small gap that they have, within their own political parties, I'm also not seeing the will to, even if you have a small breathing space, you can also do something with the little finances you get. But what we are reading is people quarreling, who is going to be the next leader of opposition, who is arguing with who despises the party president. So these are small things that can That's small things that I cannot help.
And then they have
in this country.
They have even
like,
adjusted the constitution.
Exactly. Like Julia said, eventually by 2025, you'll see by then nobody should lie you that MK is going to contest against His Excellency the President.
He can't.
Eventually you'll see all these forces. I'm actually sympathizing with I'm actually sympathizing with the people who are believing they are following MK and therefore they are going to take over in 2026. It's a big lie. These forces will come together and you'll see President Museveni on the ballot in 2026 and he will be sworn in again as a president. Now I wanted to make one final comment.
Make it.
On PDM. She raised very good arguments about marketing and so. You remember the 7 pillars? I don't know if the president is interrogating to find out why the focus is on financial inclusion. Everyone is
His
looking at
mindset
money.
change. There is
Parish-based information system, mindset change.
For me, that's what I want him to do.
Agricultural value chain development.
They have lied
marketing.
to him.
Now they are all looking at money.
Inclusion. Where do I eat? My inclusion. And the president, Bambi, poor man, is busy. How is he going to know?
And by the way, he's falling in the trap. That's why in Masaka, he said, okay, if they're giving a short payment period, I've added it to 2.
You see?
So, now it's already distorting the plan of PDM.
Okay, let me get these messages as we go along. Behind President Museveni's nationwide tours, he's trying to spread his propaganda, which create also hope to Ugandans. Okay, I read it as it is. I call to remember years back when Museveni footed almost 1,000 meters agenda for fighting corruption. Oh, that anti-corruption work. But even up to now, corruption is rampant and increasing. He's Ayume tuned in Busoga sub-region. Thank you so much, Ayume, for watching and sending your comment or contribution. Please, viewers, you can send in your comments, but we need to move very fast and look at the expiring degrees and courses at universities and higher institutions of learning. I'll be looking at the messages. But another one here. Paul is saying, thank you so much for the program. I agree with Dr. Gerard Were Wanzara. It is politics, nothing else. Did you say it?
I think he only picked one aspect. But I appreciate his comment.
Charity, I think we need to shift gears. I see time is not on our side. Surprisingly, I'll pick you first, Charity. Can degrees expire? Can courses expire? It has caused commotion, anxiety, and panic. Not only in continuing students, but even in the alumni communities elsewhere. And how it has been handled. Anyway, how did it come? Because we are told some students, Ugandan students, were applying for courses in UK, and they were told, your courses expired. And here we are. Parliament now has taken it up and directed that the Committee of Education must dig deeper. And we are asking a question, could it be possible that someone is sleeping on the job?
And I want to agree with Parliament. Actually, I want to start by saying that I was very happy with the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. But before that, I could even just ask, is it possible that all the people here expired? Even Dr. Werihe would be.
The big comma I finished in.
Dr. Werihe may also be here when he's expired doctor. When I have an expired butcher, his papers, he will produce them, will say expired. And that's why you saw the universities saying, ignore those words called expired. Because you see, like I have said, there were typewriters in the past. And from the typewriter, we were able to build onto a computer. Can knowledge expire? Knowledge doesn't expire. Knowledge grows. It can metamorphosize. There is some you will drop, you will pick new knowledge. That is why we have new knowledge and research in new area. But it doesn't mean that the old knowledge is useless. You do literature review. Why are you doing literature review? You're doing that review to contextualize, to help you identify the gap that you're going to fill. So how can you begin to say you are analyzing this body of information because it is expired? That is where I disagree. How do you expire? How do you say an academician has expired?
No, the accreditation expires.
Exactly. Then the story should have been the accreditation expired, not the degrees
Not the courses
expired, or even the programs expired. The accreditation for the course or the program expired. That is perfect. But you cannot say a degree expired. How do you expire a degree? How do you expire somebody's knowledge? How do you say that because I know 1 + 1 = 2 it has expired? Hey, when did it expire? That can't happen. So let us understand academic terrain from academic terrain. That one, nobody's degree can ever expire, and I'm happy National Council for Higher Education has finally come out
they have come out to clarify
and say they just wanted accreditation of programs and courses. And the next time, should correct words be used? Even people should not just wake up, even so big people in the policy and management also saying it is true, things are expired. How do you expire people? How do you expire somebody's knowledge and degree?
But in the first place, was it necessary?
It was absolutely useless. It was the most useless thing to have happened. Even those UK universities.
And even how did it come up?
For them, they said they were just verifying by looking at the website of the National Council. And those are the people who slept on the job. Who was supposed to be on the website? Who was supposed to update and ensure that these universities had gotten accreditation for the next years? Because National Council later came out and said, you know, we have an agreement with the universities. Every 5 years, a degree and a master's degree must be reviewed. 10 years, we do it for the PhD.
The programs.
The programs.
Must be reviewed.
And then they also said the reviewing of the program. Because, of course, if you, by the time you graduate with that degree, you've gone through that program. Now, they said that process had been flaunted. But if I am Makerere, I have an academic registrar. An academic registrar knows about
who is in charge
the programs.
all the programs.
And then you also have principals of schools.
And there's a directorate of quality.
And there is even a directorate of quality assurance.
5 years, 6 years down the road.
And you're saying, oh, this sea of people
is not accredited.
Cannot be aware that this program was not reviewed. It was not accredited. It is not in tandem with what the National Council wants. So there's something that wasn't right, and we should not let this thing slip through.
Good.
We should go to court.
Bushana Julius, what went wrong? You work with the university. What went wrong?
Thank you, Apollo. I can tell you, I've been to Russia before on an exchange program with my former university as I was a student leader. These international universities do not look at accreditation of courses while consulting a university where you're from. They look at, is it a chartered university? Now, this student who went to the University of Bristol, and the University of Bristol went to the website of National Council, they wanted to know whether this course that she did or the program that she did was from the university which is chartered. But because this was a dossier, it woke up so many things. Let me tell you something. There is no system at National Council for Higher Education which notifies these universities that your course is about to expire or is about to get done. You need to have reassessment. The word expire does not...
From universities?
Yes.
Don't you have structures that follow up?
You have structures.
These programs and ensure that they are reviewed during that 5-year period.
Let me tell you something. Victoria University was listed with over 12 to 15 programs, which they said were expired. We don't have a single program which was even termed expired on that list.
So how did it come?
There are programs they put on that list which we don't even have.
So are you saying the problem is with the National Council of Education?
Exactly, the mess is there. But let me tell you something. Now, this is how they do their reassessment. If, for instance, Victoria University submits its program for assessment, they are going to hire somebody from Chambogo to assess Victoria University. Now, Victoria University will be given assessment programs for Chambogo. But if I have conflict of interest, I will deter most of the progress for this program. I can tell you it has happened to so many universities. They build up a very good program, and then they give it for a university which is in competition, and you will find this program futile, and it will be stepped on by
Doctor, did you get it? Okay, go right ahead.
I can tell you, and now this is what is happening in the National Council. No.
You simplify it.
Okay, let me tell you something.
Back to my English of he, she, he said.
Apple is from Makerere.
Yes.
They submit a program on journalism. They will call me Julius from Nkumba to assess that program for Makerere. Now, they will get my Nkumba program and give it to a university, a staff of Nietzsche from KIU to assess my program, maybe for nursing. I've submitted my program for nursing to be reassessed. But they will get somebody from KIU who is a professional in nursing to assess it. What does that mean? Manpower, resource.
Oh, at Nietzsche.
At Nietzsche. Two, they do not have a structure which now shows, you know, these programs are about to end, let's notify the university. The university will resubmit for reassessment.
So
and Nietzsche
you
will totally
mean to say
forget.
that the inadequacies at National Council of Higher Education may have resulted, are the ones possibly which could have resulted into this mess?
Exactly. Now on Tuesday they are going to meet all universities and principals in all universities in Uganda. Do you know why? They want to find out how best can they handle the reassessment of programs. Two, if you know the budget for Nietzsche, you might even cry.
Yes.
They are supposed to reassess all programs.
52 universities now.
52.
But Buchana,
Accredited.
They have 282
Thank
high
you.
institutions of
Thank
learning.
you.
But
Julius.
those are higher
All these-
institutions. I'm
Julius.
talking about
No,
universities.
they're universities.
we are aware
Higher
that
institutions.
we are aware that students pay at least 20 or 25,000 every semester,
20,000. Every
which
student
goes
in a high institution.
yes.
Does it
Which
arrive
go
at
to
national?
Nietzsche.
And the question is, does it
For
arrive?
this purpose.
Does it arrive at the national council, or
Apollo,
it gets lost
this money goes
along?
to URA. Did you know that?
Or it
yeah.
gets
This money
goes
goes
lost.
through URA.
They are supposed to write through Ministry of Education to get that money. Do you know the process? Do you know resource allocation which is happening in the Ministry of Education? There is so much to do with that money because they don't have direct access.
So now we can see where, I mean, how things can go wrong.
The hula baloo which is at Ministry of Education, if you put it with Nietzsche, you're going to get a katogo which you can't eat. I can tell you.
But now, think about this crisis and what this mess has caused. Doctor,
Katogo is eatable.
what are we into? I mean, what are we up to?
Apollo, give me 1 minute. I finish
Okay,
up and then,
okay,
and then Dr.
go
will
right.
come in.
Min.
I can tell you, Dr. Okwakol has a lot of work to do. If she survives this wave and she's not put aside and somebody else is hired, she will be the best person to retire in this time. I beg to submit.
What are we up to? What is this?
What do you mean
challenge,
retire? She has failed to deliver on her job, or is it that she is weak, not
No,
strong
now
enough?
Julia says the problem is actually beyond the National Council of Education.
Yes, that's
what he
he's
says.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, well, right now, not all the institutions, not all institutions are facing a similar. I know that URA is collecting money, but these institutions are given an opportunity to submit a budget and then request for this money, which at times causes delays in implementing. But I looked at the structure at the National Council for Higher Education. Of course, there is a very small group of technocrats, and then they have democratized what they call the council, currently chaired by the Vice Chancellor.
Katunguka Eric.
Professor Katunguka.
Yes, and then when I looked at the profiles of these people, of course, they are businessmen, they are those without any experience,
Really?
they are those, but representing, I think there is a lot of politics for you to be elected or appointed to represent a certain fraction of society. So if you have so many people, sometimes interests may overlap because is it really okay to democratize the regulation of higher education? Okay, that's one. Then the other is capacity we are talking about. I looked at 5,000, actually about 5,000 courses to be evaluated, reviewed periodically. Then I looked at 282 high institutions of learning. These include universities and other tertiary institutions, because the National Council for Higher Education is established under one law, Universities and Tertiary Institutions Act. So looking at that big number of institutions and the resources allocated, don't we need more people? And then the process of cross-reviewing, which was talking about. Right now, there is a lot of politics in the education sector in Uganda that probably Victoria could be doing very well in a certain field, and then another university may be envious of that. So which calls for neutrality. And when there's neutrality, maybe even there will be speed. But also institutions don't need to shift the whole blame to the National Council for Education. I know that, for instance, National Council for Education has some standards, like maybe the human resource gaps in these universities, things to do with infrastructure. But there are institutions of higher learning here. You can go and just
5 years and you do not submit.
A university and then you find the bench is looking this side. It's a branch of a university. There is even no single computer in the office. I have seen some of those.
So Gerard,
you find there's no order. Then you ask yourself, really? If I'm a university, why am I focusing on expansion, creating so many branches, but
efficiency,
I have nothing to offer? Efficiency.
Okay, is lacking. We must wind up. Hello, Mr. Apollo. I am Merrick from Busia. Tell Madam Charity that all government institutions are dry bones. I think he relates to the Bible verse that they are actually empty, hopeful, and all that. That's what you should know.
But how do degrees expand?
The messages are many, but I'm being told here that we only have 3 minutes. Can we share those 3 minutes? Charity, starting with
but can you read at least one message?
Let me get it as you go on. Go on, please.
I think one of the things that need to happen and to help the education sector in Uganda, because one of the things that we trade or we export is our education. We had so many people coming from the region to study in Uganda, and we need to quickly put our house in order and refocus on our education and making it look proud. You've not seen how people take pictures of Turi University in Kenya and they say, now this is Turi University. This is how it looks like. This is wonderful. My friend, nothing was beating Makerere. Nothing beat Makerere for a very long time. We have good universities which exist
but
here.
Now Makerere
is really sinking and gone down until Dar es Salaam is even threatening it even more than it could
ever have. Why don't talk about Victoria?
Now, we want our universities and the whole sector to reorganize itself and compete internationally.
Good.
We should be proud of the product we had and make it international.
Julius, just 1 minute.
I would say the education sector is staggering, and if we do not change the head, the grass cannot sustain itself. I can tell you today we have professors who only write papers and never practice. I can tell you we have students who cannot even go out and do internships here, and people come here as media studies students and they cannot even switch on the camera. I mean, we should have experiential learning today. Let's not have education which is just based on theoretical practice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can see one message only, like Charity asked. Skills which skills gained cannot expire. The problem was just accreditation of students, and because if I am I can't be able to do this. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Faluk from Nakawa. It's only time that is just one word and we go.
Yeah, National Council for Education needs to change the language and also periodically change information on their website. As they review, they continue updating. But also changing that language is very important. Because it's expired. I found a mother in a garage and I said, wama course ziri expired chove chana chiri sasula chisoma engineering naye bantu mechanical bachigiza tasoma na kuchoza mupira.
And this is Mugaya.
Victoria.
Mugaya from Kamuli says we no longer have a government. It is a state that was taken by rebels in 1986 that is in charge. Let's stop praying. He even says let's stop playing He's talking about playing and put things in order. Thank you so much, Mugaya from Kamuli District. Viewers, thank you so much for your time, and I take this pleasure to thank my panel. Thank you so much, Julius, for coming to the dialogue this morning. Thank you, Charity. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Dr. Jared Wandara, thank you so much for this time and your deliberations. We'll catch up next week on Saturday. My name is Prince Apollo. Thanks to the production team and everyone behind this program. We wish you a good and joyful weekend. Until next time, bye-bye.